Hello and welcome once again to the Sunday Recap Podcast. I'm Big Italy 42 here with Jason Gilbo at jgilbo11 on Twitter, recapping all the Sunday action. And depending on who you had, if you had some Miami Dolphins, you probably had yourself a nice game. And there was a couple guys in this first game that if you said you were high on them, you are a liar. Starting with Kirk Cousins, had a ridiculously good game, and he was efficient too. I mean, I saw his point total. It wasn't a game that I was heavily invested in, obviously, because it's the Bucs and the Redskins, but I saw his numbers: 33 for 40, over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Certainly helped that Jordan Reed, probably, I don't know, the smallest upside you could possibly have with 11 catches, only 72 yards, but 2 touchdowns. So Kirk Cousins, still not a believer, but, I mean, that was a really, really impressive performance. So.
Yeah, and how about him giving us one of the best vines ever after the game of coming into the media and just, you like that? Like, there's nothing better that I saw this week than that vine right there.
Yeah.
But he was unbelievable. And also, I think Pierre Garçon, one of the guys I will probably never touch because 31 points for the Redskins, and somehow he manages to just have 5 catches for 55 yards. I think we see his ceiling right there.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed, so that's a no thanks for me too. And then on the opposite side, finally Mike Evans having a big breakout game, 8 for 164 and a touchdown. And this is the guy that we saw last year, was a target monster. You mentioned here he got targeted 12 times this week, and then Doug Martin once again just continued to do Doug Martin things. So this all of a sudden, in spite of Jameis Winston being wildly inaccurate at times, it's kind of, I won't say efficient offense, but it's an offense that you don't want to overlook when you're building your lineups.
No, I mean, I think they're the perfect contrarian team, especially this week, because you look at Redskins Bucks, who's really going to go there for offense. And Martin rushing for over 100 yards in the last 3 games, 5-point yards per carry on this season. I mean, the guy's been good, especially getting a couple catches out of the backfield as well.
Yeah. So definitely a nice value moving forward, or at least for now. Next game, Falcons and the Titans. In this one, I was all about the Falcons and Devonta Freeman. And I mean, obviously, that's everyone. Anyone you ask is going to say they're all over Devonta Freeman, and rightfully so. But the good thing was he did give us the nice high floor that we all expected, that we paid for. We also wanted the ceiling, though. Didn't really get that because for some reason you get down to the 1-yard line. They hand it off to the fullback, who decided to jump straight up in the air and get smashed. And then Matt Ryan inexplicably throws a pick in the end zone, and then we get no Devonta Freeman touchdown. So if you played Julio Jones, you kind of overpaid, but at least you got a touchdown. But Freeman, it was kind of frustrating not even getting a look there at that goal line.
Yeah, I mean, it must be just something with those Seattle coaches where they just want to throw the ball at the one. I don't know what it is, but
and to
Jones
Jacob Tammy too.
Yeah. Yeah, Jones had a nice game, 9 for 92 and a touchdown, but I mean, he was still overpriced, so he didn't really hit value there for me. I mean, this was a disappointing game because you figure the Titans had one of the worst defenses coming in, and they couldn't capitalize at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the other side, Zach Mettenberger, the guy we've seen sling the ball over the field. I had some GPP shares myself, little Delaney Walker with that, and obviously in a 10-7 game, most players are going to be a disappointment. I guess Jones and Freeman, the only guys who were okay. I mean, Jones did better than he had the last few weeks, but still, for like you said, for his price, I mean, he kind of got to his value, I guess, maybe a little bit more. But that was just an ugly game all around. Other side, next game, the Vikings and the Lions. You mentioned here Vikings quietly 4-2, and it's one of those ones where, from a DFS perspective, you probably don't care what the Vikings record is, but I didn't realize it, honestly, until even just reading that they were 4-2, because, you know, you see that division, you say, okay, the Packers are going to win it, everyone else sucks, but the Vikings have actually played well, and Stephon Diggs just continues to be the guy. And after Adrian Peterson swallowed his chewing tobacco, he did still have that one nice run, but did he really think we wouldn't find out about what his mystery illness was?
Yeah, I was just cracking up. I just pictured the Sandlot of him riding a roller coaster before the game and getting sick. I mean, that was just hilarious.
That's a perfect analogy. I didn't even think of that
the guy's 30 years old. Give me a break.
But it was a bumpy flight, they said. Come on.
Oh, bumpy. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Maybe you should just stick to pouches, I guess.
Yeah, when the seatbelt light is on, keep your seatbelt on, Adrian Peterson. But the Lions side, we saw Matt Stafford was okay. I mean, if not anything like he was last year, but obviously a much tougher matchup this week. And Eric Ebron, really the guy that exploded here, and he's a guy that he was heavily targeted the first couple weeks, but Stafford just had no time to throw the ball. He wasn't making throws down the field, so it was a bunch of 4 catches for 40 yards, 5 for 45 kind of thing. But now we're seeing some upside because they're taking some shots, and I mean he's a huge target. This is not an easy guy to cover.
No, they're finally using his talent down the field. I mean, the guy's a big red zone threat as well as he can stretch the field. So it's nice to see him use him like that. Because I mean, him and Calvin Johnson finished with nearly identical lines there. Megatron's just 7 targets, pretty disappointing. I mean, the Vikings shut them down the second half because I thought the Lions were going to come out and put up another 40 burger on them because they were looking good in the first half. But Vikings D stuffed them pretty good in the second half.
Yeah, the Vikings definitely made sure that they still looked like the Lions. So Lions, like you said, decent start, and then they just kind of fell off at the end, as they do, in true Jim Caldwell style. The Steelers and the Chiefs was not a pretty one. We saw Martavis Bryant was the highest owned, at least from Thursday slate, the highest owned wide receiver, despite the huge price increase over the week. And he did catch that one touchdown, barely, was reviewed for seemingly like 20 minutes, and everyone kind of held their breath if they had him in cash games. But Landry Jones was not good. But who was good, who was encouraging here, was Antonio Brown finally getting involved again. And if you saw it last week, you saw that Landry Jones in right around a half of football targeted him 6 times. There was only 5 official targets because the 6th one, I guess, was called back from a penalty. But he's been looking to him. And Antonio Brown, I mean, he looked hungry. Like he's just been standing out there waiting. And I definitely still expect big things from him moving forward. And he's not quite priced with those elite guys right now for at least one more week. So if we get Roethlisberger back next week, I might be all aboard that Antonio Brown train.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking. I thought he was a great contrarian play this week because, like you said, his price has dropped. He hasn't been doing anything. But I mean, with Jones coming in, better pocket passer than Vic, although that's not really saying much. But I mean, Brown, decent, 6 catches, 124 yards, not bad. Would have hoped he got the touchdown, but didn't really come through. I'm still shocked they haven't used Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield in the passing game for as much as they did throw the ball. This was a matchup with 2 really not great defenses, and it kind of disappointed if you went that way in GPPs.
Yeah, I mean, it makes 0 sense to me. We talked about it last week, how it was ridiculous, and just it's crazy over here. And then the Chiefs side, really nothing special, although Charkandrick West, the guy that everyone was all aboard once Jamal Charles went down, and he just promptly disappointed everyone. Turned it around, over 100 yards, a touchdown. I mean, he looked good, too. It wasn't just a product of, one fluke play or anything like that. I mean, he looked solid. I mean, immediately following me dropping him in just about every season-long league and avoiding him at DFS, he just comes out. So if you were one of those people that was, maybe the way to say it is too patient with him, then congratulations. But it seems like he's going to be involved moving forward. I just still don't trust this offense at all.
No, me either. And next week they're in London, so we don't even have to really worry about them.
Yeah. Easy fade. You don't even have to actually fade it. It's faded for you on that slate. Browns and Rams, and hopefully you played the Rams defense. If you didn't play the Rams defense, you should have played the Rams defense because they wasted no time filling up the chalk plays with a touchdown. I'm not sure what it was, 2 minutes into the game, I think. Maybe not even. Fumble recovery for a touchdown, and then quite a few sacks, a couple turnovers, and then I was a little disappointed at no pick 6 when Johnny Manziel came into the game late, but I guess you can't have it all. They did score, I think, 25 points on FanDuel, so between them and Todd Gurley, you kind of had to have those 2, and I don't know why you wouldn't have had those 2 in cash games, but you got well over 50 points from that defense and Todd Gurley, and not very expensive to have those 2 either.
No, the chalk plays definitely delivered from this game. And already looking at next week, Gurley's price really shot up on FanDuel. He's up over 8,000, which that's fine with me. Mm-hmm. But DraftKings 6,300, that's it against a bad 49ers defense. Sign me up again for the Gurley train.
Yeah, I'm all aboard. And the Browns side, we did see Gary Barnidge once again had over 100 yards, and Duke Johnson Jr., I guess he was good and you mentioned here that he's a good PPR play. DraftKings, FanDuel not so much because he really doesn't get carries. He hasn't looked like a good runner anyway, but when you get him in space, I mean, he's effective. So he's a filler type of guy for your GPPs that you know is at least going to get a couple touches.
Yeah, 7 for 73, not bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So next up, Saints and Colts. Encouraging news for you as a Colts fan is that it wasn't quite as embarrassing this week. Or maybe it was, but not in the same way. And Andrew Luck did Andrew Luck things where terrible start. It seems like this has been the trend now for 2 years because a lot of last season it was like this too. Horrible first half. Usually last year, at least it was usually just the first quarter, but horrible first half. Did bring the team back, and I saw they were. I was watching Red Zone. They cut back to the game. It's still 27-14. Colts weren't even driving yet, and you got people dancing in the stands. So you got to give the fans some credit. People were excited, and I mean they came back and made it close. And Luck, garbage time extraordinaire this week, definitely ended up paying off his tag somehow by the end, and he's not the only one. We'll get to a couple more of those too. But T.Y. Hilton, I don't know. I don't think anyone was covering him. I wasn't watching those plays. I just saw the recaps, or the replays, but no one was near him on either touchdown. He was just standing there. So I don't know if it was just we think Andrew Luck's so terrible that go ahead and throw it deep to T.Y. Hilton, or the Saints are just doing, Saints things and being terrible on defense.
Yeah, I don't think we could expect a Saints secondary to really hold up for four quarters. So we saw that. I mean, Hilton really had a monster day, 150 yards there. He saw 15 targets, which I thought was a little bit high. Only 4 catches, though, which kind of shows how inaccurate Luck was, because that's so bad. And then we got our Moncrief touchdown in garbage time if you had him. So they didn't look a lot better than last week when they were actually very solid on offense against New England. But they did manage, like you said, to not really embarrass themselves in play calling. So
yeah, and the other thing being Mark Ingram looked phenomenal on the other side. He was really efficient, about 10 yards a carry. Kyrie Robinson scored 2 touchdowns, but just pretend like you didn't see that. That's not something you need to worry about probably anytime soon. But Drew Brees, 44 pass attempts, only 255 yards and a touchdown. So that was kind of disappointing for him there, that to throw the ball that many times and not produce. It seems like almost every time you see Drew Brees with those type of numbers, and we're looking at 320, 330 through the air. So if you're looking for that DK bonus, sorry, not going to happen this week. Texans and the Dolphins, speaking of garbage time, it was almost like a tale of two garbage time halves, because it looked like the Dolphins were the team with nothing to lose, just launching the ball down the field, couldn't be stopped. They're up 41-0 before, you could even blink. Everyone was hating on Brian Hoyer and DeAndre Hopkins, and I had quite a few shares of both. I got some anti-Brian Hoyer tweets my way, and by the way, you owe this man an apology if you sent out a negative tweet about Brian Hoyer, because yes, the first half was terrible, but if you're not happy with what he produced by the end, then I don't understand what you want from the man. It looked terrible in the first half, but the end result was great. So Brian Hoyer still on my short list of great players.
Yeah, I really, my hat's off to you, Brian Hoyer. You are the best. Trucking through garbage time, just like the man you are.
Yep, with Ryan Mallett on the sideline, just giving you dirty looks the whole time.
Yeah, eating his commercial plain peanuts.
Hopefully they didn't even give him any. I hope they ran out of peanuts for Ryan Mallett. But the real big story in this one, aside from the fact that the Dolphins looked absolutely incredible again, was the fact that Arian Foster, once again, big-time injury. Torn Achilles is a speculation. I don't think the MRI's happened yet. It's Monday afternoon, but it's almost a certainty, and he was angry, and it's unfortunate, but that's certainly going to hurt Brian Hoyer moving forward, especially as much as he was targeted. But really, the other guys that exploded in this one, Lamar Miller had a huge game, really a huge half. Didn't really do anything in the second half, didn't need to. And then Nate Washington just continued to steal all the DeAndre Hopkins scores. And I'm guessing that was just the game plan for the Dolphins. They said, if you're going to beat us, you got to beat us with someone that's not named DeAndre Hopkins, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
So it was, and by did, they got their yardage that way. They certainly didn't beat anyone. So I guess an encouraging end for the Texans in this one, but still an all-around just bad performance. Jets and the Patriots, a really fun game to watch, actually, if you are not a fan of either team, and I'm not, and was kind of hoping the Jets could pull it off. Even that the onside kick at the end, if you watch that, I swear Brandon Marshall could have picked that up and continued to run, and he chose to fall on it like he was a lineman, and it just drove me nuts because I saw it, and he's running towards it, and it's there, and I get you want to make sure you get the ball and everything, and they ended up running off, getting an offensive penalty and getting the run off because Brandon Marshall didn't get lined up, but I take the chance, man, pick it up and run. It was a fun game to watch, though. Tom Brady still continued to get his. Rob Gronkowski once again didn't get covered on a play in the red zone and scored a touchdown. But Julian Edelman, though, Jets did a hell of a job on him, and he just doesn't look right. Another time he dropped a touchdown pass, hit him right in the hands. So He was not impressive at all.
No, I mean it could be something up with the injuries or to his hand from last week,
Yeah.
but as well as just the Jets taking him out. I mean they're a phenomenal defense, so they knew what to do. But the Pats just have so much to work with on offense, as we saw. I mean you mentioned it, a couple days ago. Gronk, this could be the big week where he has a ton of targets, and that was the case. Brady really relied on him.
Yeah.
As for Brandon Marshall, dropped a touchdown pass, but Fitzpatrick, decent day throwing the ball, 295, 2 scores. I think Jets look like a pretty good team.
Yeah, and I mean, this was all with Chris Iver really not doing much in the running game either. So, a lot of people, I've got some Jets fan friends that I was talking to and tweeting back and forth with, and was hearing, well, just wait till we get smashed by New England next week. But I mean, it was good, and if you were a Jets homer and bet them, they did cover the spread for whatever that's worth. I guess it's worth whatever you bet on it. But either way, I mean, they looked like a contender. I mean, maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but certainly a playoff contender. So.
Yeah.
I'm a fan there. Next up, Raiders and Chargers. And speaking of garbage time, as someone who had Phillip Rivers in his cash games on FanDuel and saw the 0.48 at halftime, I was just about ready to uninstall the FanDuel app until Tuesday and just worry about it then. But that second half, I mean, it was ugly. I think it was 30-6, he said here at the half. And Phillip Rivers just did what he usually does for most of the game, but just in the second half, and a couple touchdowns, some 2-point conversions. Ladarius Green got a couple 2-point conversions there, so that was almost like a touchdown pass each time with those 2-point conversions if you had both. So they certainly bailed each other out, and I'd like to take some credit because I did tweet about Phillip Rivers at halftime and ask him for a good second half. So thank you, Phillip. Wasn't your biggest fan before, but I'm on board now.
This was pretty much all entering the fourth quarter because he had no touchdowns coming into the fourth quarter and somehow ended up with 3 in the last 15 minutes of the game, which was a bit surprising. Danny Woodhead, though, I mean, he was another one, the king of the garbage time, with 11 receptions, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Although Allen could have had a touchdown there, but had the offensive pass interference called on him. Yeah. But the Raiders, I think the Raiders were the big story in this game. Derek Carr, big day, 3 scores, 289 yards. Cooper, if you haven't seen the Cooper touchdown, one of the vicious cutbacks I've seen, and just thrashed that secondary all day.
Yeah, he's so good, and I mean every time you saw in the first half, Derek Carr throwing the ball down the field, you were just like, how is he going to do it? Not if he's going to do it, but how he's going to do it. I mean he looked really good, so that's encouraging for the Raiders moving forward. But man, that Charger defense, if there was a question on the worst defense in the NFL. If there was a question, I'm not sure there was, but it's the Chargers, in case you're wondering. They're just lost. I mean, poor Eric Weddle, the one good defensive player they have that's worth anything, got to stand back there with that great beard just looking stupid because everyone else is bad. So that's unfortunate for him, but not really anything we got to worry about other than targeting guys against him. Cowboys and Giants, the game that I saw the least of, I just didn't care. I didn't have any pieces of this. I had some Odell Beckham in some tournaments and a couple Giants defense. But no Orleans Darkwa. I certainly whiffed on that one. I'm not sure that anyone played him. But like you mentioned here, once you see his touchdown, that kind of sums up the day for the Giants. Really, nobody did anything of note. At least no one that anyone played did anything of note. So.
No. 47 points in this game combined, yet all of them were pretty much useless to us, unless you played the Giants defense or somehow played Darren McFadden, who came in with Joseph Randle out and looked good, but that just kind of more shows the offensive line there. I really want them to run the ball moving forward. That's how they win games, and it showed this week. They had a shot, even with Castle throwing 3 picks. But I mean, McFadden could be a guy if he stays healthy behind this line. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I've still been a firm believer in the fact that Darren McFadden is still a good football player. It's really just been opportunity and injury, and he's had like the Alex Smith type of treatment where he gets hurt, gets replaced, and then they're just like, well, we're not going to force you back into big action because you're just going to get hurt. And so it's just been unfortunate for him, but I still think he's a talented back. So I definitely a guy to look at moving forward, depending on what's going on with Joseph Randle, and maybe just a guy you take a shot on in GBPs because, like you mentioned, that offensive line is just incredible. So next up, Eagles and Panthers. Another not pretty game. If you look at the score of this one, you may think that Cam Newton had a great game, and I mean he had an adequate game. Rushing touchdown, passing touchdown, that's just kind of what he does. But 3 interceptions, though, and Sam Bradford threw 46 times, and I mean I wouldn't have been surprised to see that his completion percentage was about 8%. Because I mean, he's just so bad, and we keep talking about it. It just doesn't make any sense why he's the quarterback in that system. He's probably the worst, outside of Peyton Manning, the worst fit maybe for that offensive scheme. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, it just looks like they have a lot of the wrong personnel guys in there to try and run that offense. Because especially with DeMarco Murray, trying to run the ball the outside with him, it just doesn't work. And we saw it numerous times. He picks up 2 yards maybe. And if he does break one off, it's holding and it's called back. So, and Jason Peters went down, lineman there. I think that's going to be big trouble if he's out for some time.
Yeah, and, I saw Jordan Matthews. They said that he was embarrassed by how he's played, how he's dropping the ball. So, we get it. I feel for you, man. But, I mean, I don't get paid millions of dollars, and if I did, I'd be embarrassed too. But I mean, at the end of the day, you still make a lot of money. So just he's unplayable, is what I'm saying. I'm not playing anyone that Sam Bradford's throwing a football to. Like, you put Calvin Johnson on that team, and I'm not playing Calvin Johnson. I have no faith. And I mean, he just looks like he's not confident. Like, just to look on his face, he looks terrified.
And I mean, he's done nothing since week 1.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
And I know I watched one play where Luke Kuechly just came untouched up the middle, and I'm like, oh my God, Sam Bradford's going to die. I was sure I was just going to see a man dying on live television. I was terrified. But fortunately, Sam Bradford's all right. His arm may not be, but he wasn't injured on that play somehow. But either way, that game, Panthers defense was okay if you had Panthers defense. Outside of that, really just nothing that was even worth having at all in this one. So that's going to wrap things up here for us for the Week 7 recap. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got lots of other great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.